Hey guys, how are you? Talking about a very important topic today, one that has hit the news, the airwaves rather. That is about Nicki Minaj. That is right. I don't know if you guys have heard the news, but Nicki Minaj apparently is foregoing the Met Gala because of the COVID vaccine requirement. And not only is she foregoing the Met Gala because of this, but it's really caused a lot of sort of hubbub on the airwaves. I've literally been sort of following the dialogue back and forth. There's sort of things have erupted on Twitter. This is where she tweeted this information. Initially, we're going to talk about it. We're going to go through it, break it down, and talk about what's what, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's just jump right in. By the way, if you guys have not seen it, make sure that you check this out on Twitter, or you can just listen to me talk about it here. But anyway, so Nicki Minaj tweeted this evening, and I'm reading verbatim the tweets. She says, "They want you to get vaccinated for the Met." We're talking about the Met Gala, which is happening, where everybody gets dressed up and is all fancy and really elaborate costumes. And it's really exciting. Not that I've ever been, because I haven't. She says, "They want you to get vaccinated for the Met. If I get vaccinated, it won't be for the Met. It'll be once I feel I've done enough research. I'm working on that now. In the meantime, my loves, be safe. Wear the mask with two strings that grips your head and face, not that loose one." So that's what started off sort of the storm of, a lot of dialogue about what Nicki Minaj is saying and how she feels, etc. Some people referred to her as an anti-vaxxer. Some people said she's not anti-vax. She just wants to do her research first. There's people on both sides of the aisle. So I'm going to tell you my take about this and tell you what I think about this. What I think is, well, I don't know Nicki. Hi, Nicki, if you're watching this. I doubt you are, but in case you are, hello. But, all I can do is take her at face value, right? So she says that they want you to get vaccinated for the Met. Can we just say, by the way, how great it is that for the Met Gala, they want you to be vaccinated? I didn't know that. I think that is quite excellent. I love that, by the way. And thank you, Nicki, for actually saying that. I wouldn't have known. She says, though, if I get vaccinated, it's not going to be for the Met. It'll be once I've done enough research, or I feel I've done enough research. I'm working on that now. All right. Well, look, I respect a woman or man that knows where they stand on things. She's saying she's not going to get vaccinated for the Met. It'll be once she's kind of good and ready and feels comfortable doing so, which, by the way, no one should do something that they're not comfortable with. That is a fact, right? And I stand behind that. And I don't disagree with that. Now, the other part, though, that she says is it's once she does enough research. And there's a lot of people. I literally was in the office tonight and talked to a number of patients who have not gotten the COVID vaccine, and they're still thinking about it. They feel like they're doing research. I always have to ask myself what research people are doing, not because I'm disbelieving, but what I feel is I feel like the scientists, they're doing it. I'm not a lab scientist. I'm not a bench scientist. I don't say I'm doing research on the COVID vaccine because, well, I'm not. Other people are. I'm reading the research and I'm conveying it to you and internalizing it myself. But when we say doing research, it does make me question, when people say that, where exactly are you doing research? Now, I know she's not doing bench research, and I know other people don't mean that they're doing that either. But you hear what I'm saying, right? Which is that what are the sources that you're looking into that have not already been looked at? What's the data that you're considering that has not already been considered and has not already been made public? And if it's just a matter that you've not gotten around to looking at what's out there, well, then that's one thing is, I've just got to read what's already out there. But sometimes when people say I've got to do my own research first, it makes me feel as though I want to ask, well, what is it that what are you researching? The research being done by other people, it's being done, it's out there every single day on the news. We're getting this research. So what about what we're getting is not sufficient? It makes me wonder, right? That's just a question. But let me go back to, so she's not going to get vaccinated for the Met, and that's fine, because I think you should totally get vaccinated for the reasons that you're comfortable with. But I do want to implore us once again to remember that research is here. We have it. And we also have the research of like the hundreds of millions of people who've gotten the COVID vaccine. Okay. And as I always say, when we're looking at things, we always have to look at the risk versus the benefits, the scale. I tonight just prescribed a blood pressure medication to one of my patients. When I did this, and as I do every time I do this, I say, the awesome thing about this medication is it's going to help your blood pressure. You're gonna have a lower risk for stroke, heart disease, heart attack, etc. This is going to be so great, yada yada, blah blah blah. Now the downside is there may be potential side effects, or the cost might be high, or whatever. There is not a single medication or vaccine in this world, in this universe, that doesn't have a scale. So if we're looking for something that has nothing or no potential side effects or risks, well, we're sort of falsely motivated. But anyway, back to Nicki. So she then says, which I love, right? Which just seems very, very sweet. She says, in the meantime, my loves, be safe, which I love that, because that's, that seems just warm and loving, and I'm a fan. She also says, which I love, she says, wear the mask with 2 strings that grip your head and your face, not that loose one. And Nicki, thank you for that, because right on, sister, we need to be wearing masks that fit properly. By the way, I've done a few videos on those. Now, that's the first tweet, okay? I don't have a lot of disrespect for that tweet. I think she's being quite honest about where she's at. What's hard for me with this tweet is when she says, she implies she'll get vaccinated once she feels she's done enough research. Because of her large following, something about that to me, I worry that it may imply to other people that there's not enough information out there for anyone to make a decision, right? I mean, if I didn't know what I know, I might say, well, if Nicki's not sure, then how could I be sure? And I'm not putting Nicki, I'm not trying to put, I'm talking about her like I know her. And this is not disparaging. This is just saying what, as a physician, sometimes can be tough, is you're listening to one person's sort of inner thoughts. And while I understand that there are many people who feel that way, what I don't want it to do is to give the impression to the world that there's not enough information out there, or that more research needs to be done on the part of everyone before making the decision, because that's not the case in my medical opinion, or the medical and health opinions of every expert, basically, for the most part. Okay. All right. So this is what so then she goes back and forth, and people are sending her like tweets of support and things like that. I'm just going down my Twitter feed. And then she says, and this is, I think, this was more problematic for me. And I actually tweeted in response to this. She then says, a little while after that first tweet, she says, my cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. So let's unpack that a little bit. First of all, testicular swelling is not a known, it's not a side effect, to my knowledge, of the COVID vaccine. And I'll be honest, this is something that a lot of people were tweeting about and writing about, got to it even before I did, is sometimes when we think about things like testicular swelling, we think of other things, whether it be other infections, STDs, orchitis, other things. But I don't know her cousin. I'm not saying what her cousin does or does not have. But you can see how this statement, it can be alarming and a bit jarring. And once again, this is not a known side effect of the vaccines. Actually, there was a doctor who is Dr. Uchenna, I believe that's her name, Uchenna Blackstock. I believe that's her. She is a medical contributor for MSNBC. She had a great tweet. And she basically was like, that actually this testicular swelling is more likely to happen as a result of COVID infection as opposed to getting the COVID vaccine. I thought that was spot on and really appreciated her kind of chiming in. So you guys, this is all about facts. This is all about facts. And that's where we have to remain, right? So when she says the story, even though we don't know her cousin, what does it do? It potentially plants a seed of distrust. But as a physician, I feel like it's not the most responsible thing to do because, well, number one, testicular swelling is not a known or certainly widely known side effect of the COVID vaccine. That's not something that we are hearing about. And we know that plenty of other things can cause testicular swelling. Long story short is I just don't want people being scared off for no good reason. We know these vaccines are very, very safe and effective. We also know that a lot of people have stories, and this is where I've talked about this before, like with the Veris criteria and like hearing about the COVID vaccines are unsafe. I actually had a patient today tell me, he didn't want the vaccine because a friend of his who got the vaccine had X, Y, or Z happen afterwards. And I never deny these stories. Many of you write them and say, oh, well, I don't know if I want to get it because I heard someone got it and this is what happened to them. The problem, though, with that logic is that you or Nicki or someone else is assuming that whatever happened to that person happened to them because of the vaccine. And one thing that we very clearly learn in medicine is that correlation does not equal causation, which means that just because I take a vaccine and something happens to me the next day doesn't actually mean the vaccine caused it. Now, I know it's hard to believe and hard to imagine. And yes, these things need to be investigated to see if the vaccine did cause it. But my point is that we can't assume that just because someone has a pink toe the next day after getting a vaccine, that the vaccine caused the pink toe. And when we hear stories about what happens to somebody when they get the vaccine, I think it's very natural and easy for any of us to sort of make the leap and close the loop and assume that, they got this from the vaccine, which, by the way, is not necessarily true and more likely to be false. So the danger in the testicular swollen issue is not, I'm not questioning the story. I'm not questioning that the cousin got testicular swelling after the vaccine at all. I'm not questioning that the girlfriend broke up with him, etc. But what I am questioning is the implication that the vaccine caused the testicular swelling. And that's what we have to be careful about with any story that we hear from anyone out there, because we're going to hear a lot of stories from people. It's kind of like the flu shot, guys. It's flu shot season. What do people say? Oh my gosh, my aunt got the flu shot. She got the sickest she ever got in her entire life. Interestingly enough, the flu shot doesn't make you sick. But how many of us who got sick after the flu shot said, oh, it must have been the flu shot that made me sick? Just because something happens after we get a vaccine or what have you doesn't mean the vaccine caused it. So while all this is likely true, I don't know that it's not. That's my problem, is with 22 million followers, if the implication is that this person got testicular swelling after the vaccine and that it's going to cause that and it's kind of making her nervous. She says, just pray on it. Make sure you're comfortable with your decision. And by the way, I totally stand by that. Absolutely. I say pray on everything, first of all. I mean, that's what I do. Most things. God, most things. But also make a decision that you're comfortable with does apply. But I do want to make sure that we're evaluating things appropriately, right? It's not denying the existence of certain things. It's not denying how someone feels or what happened to them, but it's being thoughtful enough to understand that what happened to them, what's going on, is not necessarily directly related to the vaccine or whatever came before it. That's all I'm asking us to do. So anyway, she then goes on to say, I guess there was somebody that wrote, this is like a fan or follower wrote, I had to get the vaccine because they wouldn't let me look for a job or get a job or earn money. And now I'm unsure about getting the second vaccine. Nicki Minaj says, I know, babe, a lot of countries won't let people work with the vaccine. We're starting to see some of that in the United States, right? I definitely recommend they get the vaccine. They have to feed their families. I'm sure I'll be vaccinated as well because I have to go on tour, etc. So you know me, I believe in calling things the way I see it. Sounds like a pretty solid tweet to me. I think she's right. I think there are a lot of jurisdictions and locations that are requiring vaccinations for work. We just have seen that with Biden's speech, right? Like, that's not untrue. And she's saying for those people who have to work, they can't work without the vaccine. She's saying, I definitely recommend they get the vaccine. Well, I recommend they get the vaccine too, but I recommend people who are not in this situation get the vaccine as well. But I'll take what I can get. And then she says they have to feed their families. Totally agree. She also says, I'm sure I'll be vaccinated as well because I have to go on tour, which I'm grateful that she said that. Why? Because I'm actually grateful that she's kind of sure, as she says, that she'll be vaccinated. And why do I care about that? Because I want her to be vaccinated just like I want all of you to be vaccinated. And I want me to be vaccinated and my family. Remember, the more of us that are vaccinated, the safer we all are and the more protected we all are. So I really thought that was a very positive statement because it's certainly the one that's the healthiest and the safest in the long run. We are the safest with being vaccinated. And she's saying, look, I have to go on tour. Maybe she wouldn't get the vaccine if she weren't going on tour. I don't know, but she doesn't say, and it's not my place to read into it. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of us got the vaccine for maybe reasons other than, oh, I just want to get a vaccine today, right? I mean, shoot, did I want a vaccine? No, but I didn't want to die from COVID. Put it this way, I wanted to reduce my risk of dying from COVID, so I got it. Did I get it out of pure what vaccine can I take today? No. If there wasn't COVID and I didn't need the COVID vaccine, would I be getting it? No. But I want to lower my chance of my risk of dying from it should I get it. That's why I got it. Some people are saying, I need to feed my family. I need to get the COVID vaccine. That's why everybody has a different motivation. Everybody's got a different reason. But is that not unlike everything in life? Everybody's got a different reason for everything. All I care about is the bottom line, is that we get it and we understand the value of it in the different ways that it does provide value. So, look, this is what I would say is she does go on to talk just a bit more, mostly tweets that are reactions to other people. I give her a lot of credit because she's stood her ground. And I think one thing that I absolutely agree with her here is that there have been a lot of people, there's articles that have been coming out saying Nicki Minaj is not getting the vaccine and she says her cousin's testicles are swollen. And a lot of people are kind of railing against her for doing that and mentioning those. And while I think they can give people the wrong impression, which is unfortunate and which I would prefer not being the case, and whatever, I also didn't hear her tell anyone not to get the vaccine. I didn't hear her say she was not going to get the vaccine. I'm just going back to these tweets. I don't hear her saying, blah, blah, blah. There are certain things I'm not hearing her say, and I appreciate that. So, look, my report and my assessment of what Nicki is saying is, I think this is probably how she feels. And the truth of the matter is, I think there's a lot of people who feel a little bit like this. What I want everyone to know is that, first of all, you don't have to do your own research. And it's probably good that you don't do your own research, not because you're not capable, but actually more so because there's so much misinformation out there. It can be very hard to tell the difference between what's real and what's not. My advice is when it comes to doing your own research, I believe that should involve talking to your doctor, talking to people at the CDC. You can actually call the CDC, consulting websites that are fact-based and your doctors. That's where I would start with research, to be honest with you. Have someone help you research that it actually has an appropriate frame of mind and has accurate information to start with. That's one of the things that makes me nervous when people say, I need to do my research. It makes me say, where are you looking? Who are you asking? Because that matters. That's everything. You know that. What I would also say is that, look, the testicular story, I think it could give people the wrong impression. But you're hearing me now, and you've heard me say this before, that correlation does not equal causation, which means if I get a vaccine today and tomorrow, I'm constipated. Doesn't necessarily mean that the vaccine made me constipated, okay? And as some doctors adequately pointed out, it's probably more likely that testicular swelling came from other things as opposed to the COVID vaccine, based on the data we have now. But to round it out, Nicki, I love the fact that you said you'll probably get the vaccine too, even if it's just so you can go on tour. And I don't want to say just so you can go on tour. It's a big deal. And look, I'll take people getting the vaccine for whatever reason they get it. You're going to lose your job if you don't? Get it. You got to go on tour? Get it. You got a sick kid at home or people who are immunocompromised? Get it. Why did I get it? Because I just wanted a lower risk of dying if I got COVID. That's my reason. Everybody's got a reason. You can have yours too, but just get it. So I'm not downing Nicki. A lot of people are like, I can't believe. I do think some things could have been put differently and could give people the wrong impression. And I don't want that. But I didn't hear her say that vaccines are bad. I didn't hear her say she was not going to get it or that you shouldn't get it either. So the one thing you should do is you've got to talk to your doctor. When you do research, it doesn't mean talking to your friend down the street, unless they're a doctor. Okay? When you look online, it doesn't mean looking up any website you can find. It means going to reputable ones, CDC, World Health Organization. A website I love is called medlineplus.gov. The NIH. I think WebMD's got really great information. Sharecare.com. I did a video actually on the best sites to look for health information. Look there. Okay. So Anyway, I hope this was helpful. You know, Nikki, I wish you well, and I hope you get the vaccine. And I hope everyone out there who's listening and looking gets the vaccine also as well, because it's important. It's one of our best ways to get out of this pandemic. So, guys, by the way, if you've not liked and followed my page, those of you on Facebook, please do. For those of you on YouTube, hello. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel and click the little bell for updates. Remember, I do daily videos on COVID stuff and all sorts of other stuff. So, and also, by the way, I have a group called I Got the COVID Vaccine. That's just for people it's not just for people who want to learn more about the vaccine, but it's for all of us who either got the vaccine, getting the vaccine, or want to learn more about the vaccine. So that's on Facebook. You'll see that in the description. There's a pinned comment on Facebook, and it's in the description of the video on YouTube. And also check out some of the other groups I have in the pinned comment on Facebook as well. Yeah. So let me know what you think in the comments. I want to know. Some of you guys are writing in. I'm going to check out your comments right after this. Let me know. Did you read the Twitter feed? What do you think of it? Yay, nay, good, bad? Where are we with this? Should she have been drug over the coals, raked over the coals like some people are doing? Should she not? What's the deal? What do you think? Also, my favorite part of when I go live is finding out who's gotten the vaccine. So for those of you on Facebook and YouTube, write in the comments, put your favorite emoji if you got your vaccine or are going to. Guys, I'm Dr. Jen Caudle. It's good to see you. I will be soon. I will be back. I will be soon. I will be back soon. By the way, on Facebook, thank you for everybody who sends stars. On YouTube, but thank you for everybody who sends super chats and super stickers. I love you guys. Mwah. Bye.